I'm Michelle Fields for Next Generation TV, and I'm joined today by House Majority Leader Eric Cantor. Thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
So you have been traveling around Virginia and across the country talking to students, talking to parents about what works and what doesn't work in their schools. What have you heard from them?
Well, I know that we've got a real problem in trying to address what millions of students are going through right now across America, and that is schools that just aren't performing. And I truly believe that we cannot be a great country unless we have great schools. And what I have seen, and I think the country has witnessed over the last decade or more, is that an increasing trend towards parental choice. And that is allowing people, families, the ability to choose for their kids what's best for them. I was in a school in New Orleans, and I saw a child that, frankly, wouldn't have had a chance of success or have any scintilla of an optimism of hope if it weren't for the school he was in. His name was Brian, and he never met his mother. The only time he talked to his father has been through prison bars. And he's being raised by a grandma who he just recently had found out had cancer.
Wow.
He didn't have a lot, but what he did have was a tremendous environment at school. And he was only allowed to be there or able to be there because of a program that Governor Jindal championed, which provided for low-income kids the opportunity to attend a better school.
Do you think that school choice and vouchers help alleviate poverty and prevent students from perhaps getting into crime and getting in trouble?
I don't think there's any question that poverty, dropout rates, crime, these are persistent problems, especially in our inner cities. And the surest way out of a cycle of poverty for any family that perhaps could have generations of that cycle taking place is a good education. And school choice has become, I believe, the answer to provide the hope for good education for lots and lots of people, especially in our urban centers.
The new New York City Mayor, Bill de Blasio, he wants to tighten restrictions on charter schools. Do you think that that will have a negative impact on students there?
I got a real problem with what Mayor de Blasio is trying to do in New York. Obviously, it is the country's largest school system, probably with some of the most challenged schools and student populations that we need to help. And as a country, places like New York give us an opportunity to say that we can excel at secondary education. And so when Mayor de Blasio is reported to have said that he wants to begin policies that make it more difficult for charter schools to operate, I just think that's wrong. I know in Virginia, I hope that we can get our laws that would lend themselves toward a more robust charter school system, public charter school system. In a lot of areas, this has provided the way for innovation, giving parents a choice to say your kids can go to a charter school that perhaps will better fit their needs. I can give you an example of a family I met in Philadelphia. You know, their child, his name is Elijah, he had a speech impediment. And they found that the existing public school that Elijah was in just wasn't quite meeting their expectations and was letting Elijah down. Well, they found a public charter school called Friary and were able to get Elijah into that school, and it has made all the difference in the world. And I asked him, I said, why is it that you chose Friary? And what Elijah's parents said was, it was not only the nurturing environment, but number one, it was a safe place for Elijah to learn. In a lot of instances, charter schools are the only safe option for many parents. But secondly, they said that they knew that there was a commitment to even spend extra time with their son due to his speech impediment to address his special needs that frankly he wasn't getting in a traditional public school. So it may not be that a public school fails for everyone, but certainly there are instances where it could fail for one. We should be about improving education one child at a time, and this is a way to do it.
And being able to choose a school that best fits their needs. What advice do you give to parents, and what should policymakers be doing? I mean, how do we create more charter schools and get sort of the message out there?
Well, I think that, you know, parents who know about charter schools are the best advocates for them because they know they work. I mean, we've seen a tremendous increase in the number of charter schools across the country, and there's one simple reason it works. Public school choice works. School choice works. Whether it's charter schools, whether it's private schools that are open to choice, they all provide some opportunity for parents to find a school that best fits their kids' needs. They're the best advocates. From a policymaker standpoint, you know, I'll tell you, our House of Representatives is working very hard on this issue. Chairman John Klein from Minnesota, he is chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee in the House. And out of his committee and through his leadership, a bill was brought to the floor, the Student Success Act, which we passed. And it had in it elements of saying we need to learn from success elsewhere around the country, bring it to areas that don't have those successes. The bill also provided for extra assistance for tutorials for special needs kids. I carried an amendment that was adopted that provided for the very vulnerable, the most vulnerable kids, to allow for federal dollars to flow to them, not to necessarily the school system to decide where to put them, but actually for the special need child to get the dollars that are allocated for those purposes. So there are a lot of ways that we can innovate if we just have a commitment to really reject the status quo. And anywhere where you see hostile policies towards school choice, I just think it's out of a fear or somehow reaction to a threat that school choice poses. And we ought to be challenging the status quo if it's not working.
I think people are scared of change.
Right. But we're going to have to work through it together because ultimately school choice in education provides a better path for kids. Without strong schools, we're not going to be a strong country.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I appreciate it. For Next Generation TV, I'm Michelle Fields. Thanks for watching.